Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to this special episode of the Boar's Nest called Pausing the Game. And I'm going to say it, pausing the game for mental health. Tonight, I am alongside, as always, the hostess, co-hostess with the mostest, OMD. Brother, I know we just talked yesterday, but how was your day today, my friend?
My day was fantastic. It was fantastic. It was another quiet, relaxing day. 2 weeks on the job, and I've already got, the keep up the good work. And
you got the old pat on the back, did you?
Yep.
Good job, buddy. No,
yep.
I'm glad you got a good job, bro. I'm glad you're happier. You look better. So congratulations from, all of us here at the Boar's Nest.
Thank you.
But today is not about Bubba Duke, and it is not about OMD, my friends.
It is not.
Two special guests. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to shut the hell up, let OMD take the reins and have his time here. I'm just going to answer some questions in the comment section. So if you're here, please give us some comments. OMD, the show is yours, my friend. Who's first?
Thank you. Well, tonight we are pausing the game and we are discussing mental health and the stigma around it. So first of all, I would like to introduce my dear friend Charlotte, who recently got to experience something with me that really helped her come out of her shell. And I am so proud of her for it, and we will get to that. But we also have two other special guests here, one of whom I have had the privilege of calling my friend for a long time, a former coworker, a friend. She is a mental health advocate, a self-published author. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Sabrina Cartwright.
Hi, so lovely to be here. This is my partner Corey as well. He's an author as well.
Welcome.
And,
Welcome.
Good to be here.
Yes.
Well, we have an Alyssa, somebody saying hi. I know her.
Oh, me?
Oh, no, I think I know who that one's for.
Okay.
So we are here to discuss mental health. Now, you have been advocating and been on a long journey of self-inflection, I guess is probably the best term, or self-discovery.
Self-reflection, self-discovery. Kind of took a few years to pause my life and just kind of take a step back and discover who I am as a person before putting myself back out there. Because, I have this thing I do where I just kind of disappear for, months at a time and then pop up and I'm like, hey, I've written a book. Well, I was in a...
Right. Right. Absolutely. So there is a huge stigma around mental health, and it is something that I will admit to having contributed to because I don't know or understand enough about it.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, this is really a huge moment of education.
Okay, awesome.
So what are some of the, more common triggers
Well, when I was younger, I went through a traumatic experience. I won't get into details, but with a family member, which kind of traumatized me for years. I was also bullied throughout elementary school, a bit of high school. I had a good group of friends in high school. You know, one of them who is
Yes.
still my best friend to this day. So, like, I mean, without them, I don't know where I'd be. Like, it's good to have those people, but at the same time, like, I still went through all that trauma and I had bad anxiety for years. And I had to, work jobs to just, survive in this world. I worked at Tim Hortons for about off and on for 5 years. I say off and on because I've had to quit and come back a few times for my
Right.
mental health reasons. And my younger days didn't make the right decisions in my life because I didn't understand myself then. But yeah,
Right.
my path kind of stems from a lot of mistreatment from when I was younger and a lot of people not understanding that I was a highly sensitive individual and I just needed to, go through life at my own pace. And I felt like I was being rushed at such a young age, like 18, to make a big decision like, what am I going to do for the rest of my life? When, like, how are you supposed to know that if you don't really know yourself at the time?
Exactly. Right. And I can relate. I was bullied all through elementary school,
Mhm.
bit of a loner in high school.
Yeah.
And that was all because I took special ed and resource.
Those things are there for a reason to help, not to discriminate against people. You think
Exactly.
people should be a lot more kinder.
Yeah, you would, but no. So I was, and then I became, like I said, I was a loner throughout high school. I made one really good friend about halfway through, and then started to come out a little bit more. But then it was, once I hit college, I went back down. So I want to get to, so we've got triggers. What are some of the different, I guess, forms of mental health? I don't want to say issues.
Um, well, I recently discovered that I have ADHD, which honestly makes sense through my entire life because I was very chaotic when it came to like organization. And I remember in high school, like my locker would always be messy and like I couldn't keep my room clean for the life of me. Now, any form of mess or clutter just sets me off because I am reminded of that phase in my life where clutter was something that I lived in. But yeah, I just discovered that I have ADHD and I'm not fully diagnosed with autism, but I am on the autism spectrum. So like I do have like high sensitivity to like stimuli and like routine change. Like I'm very routine oriented person. So like I have to set my routine at the beginning of the week or else like my week's completely off. And I didn't know that when I was younger. I didn't know that I had ADHD. So it's like I kept that hidden for so long because like I didn't know that I was different. I was trying so hard just to fit in and be like everybody else around me. But like I didn't realize that I needed that extra help because I was afraid to reach out for it because like there was so much stigma around like girls and like asking for help and you wanted to be popular and fit in and whatnot. So a lot of that, like, not having that outlet in those years of your life or that those people to go to when you were growing up really impacted me quite a bit.
Right. And I know, like, you've met him. He's not here tonight, but I have a 7.5-year-old who
Yes.
we got diagnosed with ADHD earlier this year, and
He's so
that's one of the things we've actually found is now once we set a daily routine,
yeah.
it's fantastic.
Yeah, routine's very important for people with ADHD. Like it's hard to like keep in and start a routine and like get into it, but like I find like the more you go on, like it becomes second nature And I wish I had that when I was younger, but like I didn't know. I was just going with the flow of what I was told to do.
Right, right. And I mean, I like you, I loved to live in clutter and the organized chaos.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I'm now I've tried to get better, especially since the pandemic, at trying to keep everything a lot cleaner, more organized, but I've really curtailed that.
Happens.
Yeah. So now I've got to go through and do, of course, the massive deep clean, but that's all, dealing with the home life.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, there are so many different forms of mental health. You've got, the ADHD, ADD, which I was actually diagnosed with back in high school. As well, you get panic, anxiety, bipolar, borderline personality. What are some of the things that people can do to recognize when these are onsetting?
A lot of these mental health conditions, they start showing symptoms at a young age, like teenage years. Like those are the most important years of our development, right? So like 14, 15, or like even younger. Really important that parents like listen to their children when they say, "Hey, I think something's wrong. I think this needs to be investigated further." Because I didn't really have that. Like when I said like, "Hey, I think something's wrong," it was ignored. But like I knew something wasn't right. Like I knew like I had depression from such a young age, and like I tried to reach out, but I was always told, "Oh, you're fine, you're fine, you're fine. Just suck it up and get through it," because like that's what society does to people. So basically it's a lot of like listening to yourself and being honest with yourself about how you feel. And like if something feels off, investigate it until you get the right answers, because it took me like a year, 2 years to get diagnosed with ADHD. I haven't even gone into autism with I did, but there was just a lot of paperwork, and like that was a lot. So I'm just kind of self-diagnosed with that, but like I'm more accepting of the ADHD at this point, because like it makes sense from my past and my childhood and my teen years, that
Right.
all those symptoms that kind of I recognized at the time, but to me it was normal. And then I remember when I was 15 and I had my first job at Burger King. um, it was an okay experience because I met some really cool people, but at the same time it was an awful experience because like I was 15, my first job, my first experience like in the workforce, and like people treated me horribly and like management and whatnot, because like I was overwhelmed by everything going on around me and I didn't understand what was wrong with me. Like I thought it was like me, but I didn't know like that was my nervous system and how I, responded to society at that point, because everything's so fast paced. And like in fast food, we don't get that time to just settle and think things through. Like I'm the type of person like I need to think things through before I do it, so I make sure I do it right, because of all that trauma from being bullied by management at such a young age when I didn't understand myself.
Right. Yes, yes. Fast food is definitely hectic, and you definitely need a thick skin for it.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, I've made incredible friends over my time in fast food, whether it was with Tim Hortons, or at KFC next door to working me with you, and even working both jobs in a day.
Yeah. God, Tim Hortons, I've met some of the most incredible people, like including you, and just everybody's been great with my mental health. That's why I'm still there, because of the wonderful people that I've worked with. Like I don't know what to do without them.
Right. So, like, what should somebody do? Like, because we know that people do have a hard time asking for help. And I'm wondering why that is.
Just with the stigma of society, like if you're not like, fully functional, working a 40-hour work week, or you're not in school going for like some big corporation job, like that means something wrong with you if you're the type of person that likes to think outside of the box. Like, it's all stigma from society. And like, these people don't have things wrong with them. They just been through some bad stuff in their life and they don't know how to cope. So a lot of them turn to drugs and alcohol to figure out what to do with themselves because they didn't have that extra support. A lot of people feel like they're so alone and isolated because they don't feel like society supports them. And it's sad. Like, there is communities and there is people that do care about a lot of people in this world. And it's just, it takes a lot of courage for people to reach out and whatnot. Like, and I'm taking mental health and addictions in school, which kind of just makes sense. My path in life just kind of led me here.
Right.
We were talking about like EMTs and firefighters and police officers and people who work in like nursing who have PTSD that were like exiled from their people that are supposed to be like family to them because of their mental health struggles. And like, it's not okay. Like, that should be like supported if somebody's like seen something traumatic. Like I don't understand why society is so harsh on people like this. Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me, but that's just how I've been, how I see the world.
Right. Well, before you and I worked together, I had worked at another Tim Hortons, and I went through being involved or being a victim of an armed robbery.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that. That's scary.
So I have dealt with PTSD.
Yeah, me too. Me as
my
well.
owner at the time gave me a 2-week paid leave.
2 weeks.
2-week paid leave.
Goodness.
But head office from Tim Hortons was only willing to provide 2 therapy sessions with a counselor.
Wow.
Now, there were certain things that I wasn't able to do at that time. Like, I was able to still play video games, but I wasn't able to play some of the games that I wanted to because it would just trigger flashbacks.
Yeah.
As well, I don't know if you know that I am a recovered addict.
I think I knew that about you. I think so.
I reached 23 years in June.
Wow. That's phenomenal. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm so proud of you. You've come so far.
Thank you. So I can understand that stigma and I can understand people turning to drugs and alcohol because of the unrealistic expectations.
Yeah. Very unrealistic.
That society puts on everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And through social media, I mean, we see a lot more people maybe posting memes and stuff. And I don't know if it's to poke fun at themselves or to raise awareness for themselves of some of their mental health issues and their mental health concerns. And I'm wondering if social media is a trigger, if this is their way of putting it out there, if they're trying to garner sympathy. And I'm probably saying this wrong, because I've looked at it, like I said, this is an educational moment. And I know I haven't ever said this on any of the podcasts and I won't ever post about it on social media, but I've almost said, things like this almost feel like a fad because it's something that comes out and then all of a sudden everybody's got it. And I know that's not how I want to feel, which is why I'm here to educate myself today.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I've also said the same thing about members of the LGBTQ community because you almost find it to this point because of these expectations of society where a girl likes a boy and it's like, but he won't have anything to do with me. But if I can sleep with his girlfriend, then maybe I can You know, and I've said that legitimately in a classroom in a business program. So I'm here to admit that, you know, I've said these things so as to educate myself.
You're human. We're allowed to make mistakes as long as we learn from them.
Yeah. And so what are some of like the coping mechanisms that people can use for
Good coping mechanisms or not so good coping mechanisms?
preferably let's go with the good mechanisms for now. I know for myself it's, you know, I do the Boar's Nest with Bubba Duke on Thursdays where we'll game and stream for an hour.
Okay.
I watch my wrestling. And for me, one of the big things that I do, and I can only afford to ever do it once a year, is a concert festival. To just go out and be free.
Go out and have fun, yeah. Some coping mechanisms that I partake in has been like going to the gym, trying to get at least like 3 to 4 days a week at least, because like with ADHD, like I'm very routine oriented. So if I don't have that routine, like my day feels like completely off. And as crazy as it sounds, going to work has been one of my weirdest coping mechanisms, but it keeps me in routine and like I'm able to connect with people, like with society, like some of the community members. I'm able to like have friends that I talk to about like what's going on in my life. Also like relationships and having those people to connect with so I don't get into like this isolation mode again. I'm trying to stay out of that because like if I really deep into my depression, I will isolate for like months. Like, I mean, it's productive because I can get a book done, but like that's not healthy for anybody in that regard. And also like trying to like eat healthy. I'm also sober from marijuana for about 2 months now about that. Cause like I was smoking for like 3 years straight pretty much. So, cause I was in a bad situation for that time. So that was like my negative coping mechanism. But like the last like month and a half, I've been too busy working on other projects in school to even consider that. And B is just it was making me feel horrible. So it had to go.
Well, congratulations to you. I do know how that is because I started on marijuana and it led to other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But with these coping mechanisms, and as I brought up concert festivals, this is where I want to bring in Charlotte. And she recently got to experience something about a month ago, and I would like her to share her story on this.
I did experience something. Hi, everybody, by the way. I went to my very first music festival ever. 2 days. I was a little bit worried going down there because I've got some issues of my own. I suffer from PTSD and depression, anxiety, a whole bunch of other medical issues that are physical rather than mental. But the mental stuff was the scariest part. I wasn't too worried about the physical. I know I could get through that, but with my anxiety and whatnot, I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to make it through it. And thankfully, I had a great group of guys that had my back the entire weekend, though. Dan being one of them. A couple of other friends that I met over the weekend. I actually just met them that Friday, and they were there to support me too. It was awesome. They were a great group to be with. I knew that if I needed something, they were right there. So that was pretty awesome. But yeah, that was huge. How many people over the weekend was there?
About 40,000 a day.
Yeah.
But what were some of the things that you experienced over that weekend outside of the group?
Well, first of all, I was anxious as ever to go down there and be away from home, away from my cat, away from my kid. So the anxiety alone was absolutely insane. However, I did it. I went down there, went to the concert. The line was insane. It was ridiculous. And that made me even more anxious to get in there. But I don't know if it was a really bad anxious or if it was a good anxious, because I was excited too.
Right. But there were 3 major milestones you achieved. And
the 40,000 people alone.
Yep.
Going to the middle of the pit on day one. Day 1, yes. And then on day 2, I decided that I was going to go crowd surfing, which I don't like people touching me at all. So it was insane. And yes, I went crowd surfing, and I was scared that they were going to drop me or I was going to fall or something. And it was absolutely amazing. It was like the biggest high I've ever had.
Yep. And then there was one other major thing.
Actually, I'm on medications, and I did not take any of my anxiety medications that weekend. I didn't need them. I was okay. I was with people that I knew had my back.
Yep. And on top of that, there's one other word that you did that entire weekend.
Which word? Sober?
Sober. Yep. No
Yes.
alcohol.
I had recently stopped drinking for a while, and yeah, I did it sober. I didn't drink at all during the concerts whatsoever. I drank a heck of a lot of water, but yeah, I did it sober. No pot either, which I was actually surprised at too, because I smoke pot for my anxiety and stuff, and none of it.
Wow, good for you. Way to go.
It was amazing.
Yeah. I was extremely proud of her, and it was just a fluke that she wound up being able to go.
Yeah, it was.
Because I wound up with an extra ticket. And words could not express how incredibly proud I am of Charlotte for that weekend.
Thank you. That means a lot.
I heard about it. Dan actually, OMD messaged me, dude, you're not going to believe what just happened. I'm like, dude, did somebody die? Like, did Buddy get shot? What happened? He's like, remember Charlotte? Yeah, dude, she's down here with us, and he like every day, dude, she just did this all. Like, no, I wish I had my passport and I could have gone.
It would have been a blast, because man, that was one of the greatest. And now I have like 4 new favorite bands, so that's cool too.
Yeah,
there you go.
Yep,
I'm officially a metalhead.
And the other thing, and I'm going to ask you this: what major thing did you notice about the entire community at the festival?
Oh, everybody was so accepting of everybody. It didn't matter on, sexual orientation or your skin color. It didn't matter who you were, what you were. It didn't matter. Everybody was family. Everyone looked out for each other.
Wow.
Yeah, there was
a lot of people.
Nothing that we heard. I'm sure there was probably comments cast in the background or whatever, and some judgment, but nothing that we heard. And I can't sit there and say any different about other genres of music, because I don't know. I've never attended a country festival. I've never attended a hip hop festival. I've done 4 rock festivals. So would you go again?
Oh, for sure. Already planning on going next year. It's already in the works.
All right.
And I'm crowd surfing the big crowd this year, not the little one.
All right. Okay. And Sabrina, we mentioned off the top that you are an author, and as well, you mentioned that your partner Corey is an author as well. Would you care to elaborate? Do you use your writing as a coping mechanism?
Oh, absolutely. I've been writing since high school. Well, even before that, as a young kid, I was always just had this wild imagination with these wild stories. So like probably grade 9 or grade 10, I started like writing like lots of poetry, like going through like my old notebooks and stuff like that are in like bins and stuff from high school days. Like it's covered in random poetry from like probably like crushes that I had, which now I think about just really cringy. And also just just things that I was going through that teenage Sabrina could not process at the time, and like the wonderful friends that I had in high school, and like some of the not so good friends and things that had happened. So like a lot of like it was just me trying to process like teenage hormone emotions at that time with writing. And I did write stories sometimes, but they were like super cringy. But my first poetry book is Inside This Strange Head of Mine, which is just very old poetry about, again, crushes that I had at the time, things that I was going through. I wrote one poem about marijuana. That's when I started smoking it, was back in high school, which probably was a trigger, like a coping mechanism that I didn't realize that I had at the time. But because like I didn't, like, to me those feelings were normal, but like I was like, why isn't anybody else feeling this way? Like I didn't realize that wasn't like normal. It's like my normal was different from everybody else's. So yeah, this is my first poetry book that I published. And then I also have
just 1 second. Is there somewhere like a regular person like I can go and order that book and get it?
Yeah, I have them. I have a few copies on me here at our office, but also it's on Amazon. I'll send Dan the link later so you can order it if you want to. All of them are up there. I think I might have to re-add one because I was editing something. But yeah, they're all on Amazon.
Okay. Yeah, OMD will get that. We'll shamelessly promote that on our next episode.
Absolutely.
Beautiful. And also,
sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
It's okay, no worries. I didn't even notice that you had your hand up. There was also In an Instant, which is a series book that I've been working on for a few 5-6 years now, about a girl named Delilah who gets into a car crash, and while she's in her coma, she discovers like the meaning of life and like her purpose in life. And then that leads into another book, which is called City of Dark Angels. It kind of got a little bit dark, but that was like my weird fantasy mind at the time, because I like sci-fi and romance and all those crazy genres. And then after Inside This Strange Head of Mine, there's another book called Words to the Forgotten, which is like my early 20s, which is a bit lighter poetry, but still like about a lot of dark things that I was experiencing at the time because I was still young. And there was this phase in my life where I tried to go out to Alberta for 2 weeks. And as much as I loved it out there, I got homesick and came back home. So I wrote a bit about that and my experience. And to always check your plane ticket while you're in an airport when they change your plane ticket, because there's a story of where I was at one part of the airport and then they changed my flight ticket because I guess I missed the flight. And then the ticket that they changed it to was at the other part of an airport. So I had to run through Toronto Pearson Airport and almost miss my flight.
Wow.
So yeah, I wrote about the stories like that of shenanigans that my friends and I got into in our younger days. And then there's recent Privately Owned and Operated, which is about basically taking back my life through poetry and just starting my healing journey through my childhood trauma and what I did to cope to get to where I am now. And then the final book is From There to Here, which is basically my story from like birth to about a few months ago. Yeah.
Nice.
Wow. I remember when In an Instant was first published.
Yeah, I was working at when that came out.
Yes. Yes, and I remember following it because I kept hearing or reading, little excerpts from the chapters that you post on social media.
Yeah.
Now, you've also won a couple of awards, haven't you, for your writing?
I haven't won anything in a while. I haven't really been putting myself out there because of like my anxiety and my depression was getting the best of me for a while. So I was kind of like in this like bubble of being afraid to put myself out there. But back in 2008, I did win like a poetry award for something that I wrote. I forget what it was, but it won this award from poetry.com. It was at the time. Because I posted a bunch of things there, and I guess something won an award, so I got it like framed in like this little wooden picture frame. Yeah, so that was really cool. But I'm starting to put myself out there, like doing little things like this and podcasts. And at the beginning of the summer, we did a book signing together, and it was really fun.
Oh, fantastic! Now, Corey, you're also an author.
Yes, I've also this one's called Bear World, so it takes place in Bear Forest, and there's all different bears from all around the world. So Gary Grizzly, Polar Pete, Bella Black, Amanda Panda, and Carabera are all trying to convince Gary Grizzly why it's important to clean up the forest for Earth Day. And so once he sees, that the Earth is the same shape as the soccer ball, and how each of them are, a different pattern of the same thing. They realize that they do share one home, and it is all their responsibility to clean up their forest. And so there's a lot of big lessons put in a simple way so that the kids can understand how special and how different, yet how unified they are.
Fantastic. That is amazing. I was going to ask, is that a kid's book? Like,
it's wordy. Like you'll see, there's a lot of words in it.
Right.
And it's, grade 12 and up, grade 11 and up, 11 and up, 11 years. Yeah.
Okay. I was going to ask, what age group would that be for? Like, would it be appropriate for my soon to be 8-year-old to read it?
8-year-old could handle it. Yeah. I would say 7 and up. Yeah.
Okay. Fantastic.
And I've had, I'm actually working on the 12-step miracle journal right now because I've also had some instances with addiction. And I've had to go to rehab for that, where I basically, they say you have to die while you're still alive in order to really live. So I guess that's where I did it. And, Wow. I find a lot of my writing was actually born from neglect. So I was able to use my gift of writing to, basically make my action figures my best friends. And, this gift, it's great that it grew. But, it was, obviously not great because of the neglect. But I realized that, I have to stop that with me, and I can't put that, on my daughter. I have to be there, and I have to destroy that curse with me. So that's a little bit, it's basically how I turned, a sad, weakness into, an empowering strength over time. But still, I got lost into the fantasy mode, just like Sabrina said, she had that period in her life too. So eventually I had to learn that the character is way more important than the story, because where all the good stuff comes from. And so you have to protect the character in order to glorify the story.
Right. Wow. Okay. Yeah, no, I know exactly where you're coming from, because as Sabrina talked about her being bullied and ridiculed through elementary school, and I was the same way. Like, that's where, that's when I fell in love with wrestling, was because it was a way for me to live that fantasy, and it was always there for me.
Right. So
growing up,
right. Something that wouldn't be a person, because we couldn't depend on anyone. It had to be something that we created for ourselves.
Yeah.
I would like to add, though, I wouldn't say that it was a weakness. I don't think that was the right word to put there. It's not a weakness. It was just something that had happened to you.
Yeah.
You're
right. Yeah. It was unfortunate.
Modifying it.
Yeah.
Positive instead of a negative.
Yeah. I mean, we've all faced addiction here, and we've all come through on the other side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Strong.
For sure.
So, and I mean, like, I know, like, and I'm gonna put my hats off to single moms, and I'm gonna say, like Charlotte, I know she's a single mom. I'm a single father. But to these single moms and to the ones who do it alone with multiple kids, whether it's 2, 3, 4 kids, like, I don't know how they manage it. Like, they have, I mean, all moms deserve respect and love regardless.
Thanks.
But I just don't know how they manage. And I mean, I
It's
don't
hard
know,
for
like,
any single parent.
yeah, I know, speaking as a single dad, I worry that, am I doing the right thing for my son? Am I a good dad? Am I having an, I asked my little boy a couple of weeks ago because I just recently changed jobs again. I got a call a month ago today from the best job I've ever had, and they asked if I was interested in returning, which was a complete no-brainer. And I asked him that night when I picked him up, I said, was I a better dad when I was working there? Was I happier? And he looked at me and he said, yes, Dad. And I thanked him for his honesty. And I said, well, in 2 weeks, Daddy's returning to that job. And Bubba will sit there and tell you, I look better.
Oh yeah.
Sure.
I know I was dealing, and I'm going to say this was the first time I really started to focus on my mental health, was at the last job, because I was dealing with a lot all from one person, and it was just being snapped at for the littlest things, and he would blame it on his pain or blame everything on everybody else, and it was just nope. So when this opportunity came up, I had to jump on it.
It's definitely been a big change. I have to be honest, OMD and I haven't really known each other for a very long time.
No.
In the short amount of time that I've known this man, he has done a 180 as far as his mental health is concerned. Like, he was white, huge bags under his eyes, kind of just, you could just tell he was run down. And then I look at him now and I see this man that is happy, doesn't have bags under his eyes. He's got a smile on his face more often than not. So even just getting to know him, even I feel lifted up just by talking to him and seeing these dramatic changes since the job change. And I tell him every day, "Hey, bud, how was your day?"
Yeah.
And he's like, really good. I text him and I'll be like, "Okay, that's good, man. Did you have any issues today?" No, like, literally everything went perfect today.
Yeah.
Awesome, bro. Good to hear. That lifts me up and gives me a better mood. And my girlfriend can even testify to that. That it's like a circle. That's how I equate it. If one thing goes wrong, because I'm like you, Sabrina, ADHD, routine.
Mhm.
One thing goes off in my day, and my whole day's shot. You might as well forget. I might as well just go back to bed and forget it.
Momentum. Yeah, momentum is really
It's-
important.
Exactly. Myself, I deal with depression. I have really bad depression. My anxiety. I do have anger issues that, thank you to this wonderful woman that I'm with now, she's not only just being like, well, you have problems and you got to fix them. No, she's my legit partner, like standing beside me, holding my hand, and it was like, babe, something's wrong. What's wrong? Just by the look on my face or how I'm holding my hand, how I'm breathing, she knows. She's like, what's wrong? Talk to me. So I tell her flat out, this is how I'm feeling. I'm feeling very anxious. I'm very upset right now. And she'll sit with me and hold my hand and she'll tell me, okay, explain to me why you're feeling this way so I can help you feel better. And that's the first time. I'm 42. Okay, I'll admit on air. I'm 42. Never have I had a partner in my life that legitimately will sit with me and let me open up and be emotionally vulnerable. I don't even know if that's the right word.
Yep.
And she understands that I'm not the best educated guy in the world. I'm not. I'm not good with the words. I'm not good with expressing my emotions because when I was younger, it was you're a man. You don't have emotion. You keep that shit bottled up. You don't cry. You don't like. For years, I didn't tell my mother I loved her. For years, because that's an emotion. You don't have that emotion. You are go to work, bring home money, go to work, bring home money. You know that's all you're good for because that's it. Now, recently, since the birth of my daughter in 2017, I've realized that that's complete BS. So much BS. My little girl gets upset now. I have to fight the tears to not come out and show her that. But I cry, yes. But when she's upset, I try to be like, okay, baby, what's the matter? Why are we upset? Why are we feeling like this? Trying to help her and show her that emotions are real. You're allowed to have them, but you got to talk about it and don't keep it bottled up.
Yeah.
Because if you do, then what happens? You have an emotional outburst. God knows where it's going to happen. Heaven forbid it's in public. And someone calls the police, and now you're in jail because not only did you have an emotional breakdown, but now someone compiled on the police being there and them yelling at you, and now you're yelling at them, and then things happen. So I'm learning with my beautiful girlfriend that having emotions is good. Like, my dad passed away in 06. I cried the day we buried him and haven't cried since. Again, you're a man. You're not supposed to have these emotions.
Right.
My girlfriend and I was upset one day, and she's like, "Why are you upset? Why you seem off?" Like, I legit just miss my dad. So she brought me into, yes, this is the bedroom, sat me down, and gave me a hug. Dude, I cried for like half an hour. Like, legit, like bawled. Haven't done that in years. Do you know how freeing that is?
That was so good. Yeah.
Yeah.
How happy I was to just let it out and not. I'm trying not to cry right now, and not get and just let that out. Not hold that in anymore, and just be like, you know what, Dad, I miss you.
Yeah.
And just have the woman that I truly love, like, never loved a woman like her ever, to just sit there with me and let me be free for however long I needed to sit here. She was here with me. So when I see used to, I'm just like, it's awesome to see that he's supporting you in what you're doing right now. And I'm sure you support him when it's needed.
Always.
That's what this world's missing.
Yeah.
Is that emotional support to let men be men.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
We are emotional people. We have feelings. Hello. You stab me, it hurts. You pinch me, it hurts.
Yeah.
Yep.
You call me names, it hurts.
Yep.
So, to cope with, I know it's a big long story. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Don't be sorry.
But
No,
I, for the longest time, to cope with these emotions, I got severe alcoholism and drug addiction to the point where I was waking up in the middle of the night, had a beer fridge literally where my end table should have been, would open it like a 40 of whiskey. Yeah, done. Do a couple lines of whatever was right there and then go back to bed because I would wake up at cold sweats and shaking. I'm going to get into my personal story real quick. The reason I have been clean and sober is in 2005, my dad had a heart attack. Very mild one. He thought he was having heartburn, but it ended up being a heart attack. Christmas was not Christmas. We found out that he had cancer in his lung. So Christmas wasn't as fun as it usually is. March the next year of 2006, my dad passed away. But before he passed away, he had made a phone call, called me. Listen, I hear what's going on in your life. You have two options. This family or that so-called family you have, which was the drugs, the alcohol, and all that stuff that I was doing. Because at that point in my life, that was the most important thing in my life. I was literally selling drugs to get drugs, to drink, and, that kind of stuff. So I knew how long it took to get from where my dad was living, where I grew up, to the apartment I was living in. We'll say 40 minutes, okay? And that's doing the speed limit, following the rules and the law and everything. 40 minutes. Said, you got this long, you don't show up, I know you don't care, and I won't care neither because I got a big deal going on, and hung up the phone. Click. Okay, the minute that phone clicked, 15 minutes. Ding dong, ding dong. My bell was ringing. It was my old man. I literally flushed more drugs than anybody's ever seen probably in this room. Packed my bag and went home with my dad to live with him for the last 6 months of his life. Because I didn't know at that point in time. He knew he had cancer. I didn't know because I wasn't talking to him. He got me home and sat me down and told me, listen, I don't know how long I have, but this is what's going on.
Wow.
So I'll admit I was a little high. It was a lot to take in at that point in time. I said, okay, oh man, I got to go for a drive. I'm going, you know where I'm going. I just need to go for a drive. I had a spot where I live. I'd go, that was my thinking spot. I ended up going to the youth group because it was a Friday night. And the youth pastor at that time was my best friend. We grew up together in high school. He says, Mom and Dad are at home. You can't stay here. Because he could see that I call it my drug demon, my alcohol demon, my demon I fight every day. He could see it. It's just the look, right? So I went to the pastor's house. On the way there, the highway turns. And the road, a little like city road, goes straight through up the hill. I didn't know that they had started construction out there for the new highway. You're only supposed to be doing 60. At this point, I was probably doing about 70. In a blink, everything went black. And I had my drug demon in my face, breathing on me, screaming at me, telling me, I'm going to kill you. You're going to die. Right now, you're going to die. And I went, no, the F I ain't. Snapped out of it. When I snapped out of it, I had enough time to gauge. I was doing 100. Enough time to look ahead. Oh shit, there's a ditch. The road isn't there. There is a track hole in front of me and a ditch. I had enough time to turn the wheel, slam the brake, and stop that far. from the ditch. Now, the speed I was going, because my friend at that time was a police officer. His dad was a cop, sorry. His dad told me, by you doing 100, that ditch being as deep as it was, and he goes, were you wearing your seatbelt? No, I wasn't, because I was young, dumb, high as shit. He goes, you had two options. The ditch is 8 feet deep and straight down. So you would have hit the other side, went through the windshield, and been dead. Or you would have cleared the ditch, hit the piece of equipment, and died. The car would have blown up, you'd have been dead. That was your two options. I made it up to the pastor's house, and I know some people have issues when you talk about religion. That night, I asked God to take my soul because I didn't know what the hell I was doing with it, because I was so high and so drunk all the time, I didn't want to live. Said it right in front of the pastor and my dad. I'm like, this is where I'm at in life right now. I wouldn't have cared if I would have died, because the drugs and the alcohol had such a grip on my life, I couldn't make my own decisions.
Yep.
My dad took me back home and said, don't worry, son, I got your back. I'll take care of you, because I know nobody's going to help because I got cancer. I'm like, that's okay, Dad. You take care of me and I'll take care of you till your last day, bro. You're my homie. I got you. I haven't touched drugs or alcohol since, because I promised my old man on his deathbed I wouldn't, and I can't break promises.
Wow.
Nobody's ever heard that story. Nobody knew my dad and I had that talk. Nobody knew he called me. Said, hey, bro, you got two options, this family or take a hike. And I gave him an ultimatum, and what did my dad do? 15 minutes, dude. It's a 40 freaking minute drive.
Yep.
No way that he should have been there in 15 minutes. Don't tell me that doesn't happen for a reason. That's my lady. I can hear her outside the door talking with the kids right now. Her beautiful children, all three of them. But to this day, I'm like, I'm here for a reason. I have a beautiful little girl. Number two, because now that I told my mom, I got a second one on the way. We just found out yesterday.
Congratulations.
Don't tell me I don't got nothing to live for.
Yeah, congratulations, brother.
How many signs do you need?
Thank you. That was my dad said.
Thank you for sharing
you're on
your
this earth for a
stories.
reason.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. That's very powerful.
I know I've never told anybody. Like, my lady knows, but
Yeah.
I've never told anybody. This is why my dad and I were so close. First time I drank was with my old man when I was like, everybody does that. Oh, can I have a sip of your beer? Can I have
Yep.
Kids, right?
Yeah.
My dad and I did everything together. I wanted to smoke drugs. I'm like, Dad, I don't know what this is like. I'm kind of freaking out. I had a little joint, right? Like, buddy gave me a joint. I was like, Dad, I don't know how I'm gonna react. I don't want to deal with just anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Dad's like, okay, well, I'll protect you.
Yeah.
You're gonna try it anyway, right?
Yeah.
So why not?
No, and that's what I want Shane to do for me or his mom. Is like, I'm not sure about this. Okay,
Yeah.
I've been through it. I'm not going to use it. I'm not going to smoke it with you, but I will be here.
Exactly. And that's what I'm going to say to my kids. I would rather you come to me. You want to try alcohol? Sure. What do you want to try? Let's go look.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie to my kid and be like, oh, I've never done it. I'm
No.
perfect little late. No. Your dad was a complete, and pardon the French ladies, because there are ladies in the room. Your dad was a complete fuck up when he was a kid. Okay. Complete. Like, that's what I grew up. We grew up in that time where it was play outside and from the sun come up till the sun go down. You were outside. You were raising hell. You were like, I've had some bad situations in my life, but again, it was like, you're a man, suck it up.
Yep. And I mean, I'm going to say this, like, as we discussed the bullying and that, like, I was always very emotional as a child. Like, I cried and I cried and I cried a lot until I was probably 25. And then it was like, nope, you're not allowed, blah, blah, blah. You're too old for this. And it's like, so then, yes, in the last, 20 years now at 44, I've closed that off, but I was tearing up at your story there, Bubba. And I've had other moments where I've teared up. Obviously, the birth of my son.
Yes.
Well, I am getting a loud crackling back in my ear.
Hold on, I bet you I know what it is. Try that.
That's better.
Sorry, Charlotte.
So, I've had those moments, and it's like,
Mm-hmm.
I've had people interfere in relationships.
He's breaking in and out.
Is he?
But they didn't.
Yeah, we're getting some lag here now. Somebody probably jumped on the internet over here. Yeah, there's people on the internet here.
Okay,
That's the problem.
but I was also, as I've looked back on it, is I was never.
She closed the wrong tab. She'll be back.
I've never truly was given a voice within my family. It's always been, and even now to this day. Where'd Charlotte go?
She just said, my phone's dying. I'll be back next time.
Okay. And even now I'm looking at it and it's like, I get told, oh, you're the parent, but I'm not the parent unless I'm doing it their way.
Yeah. See, hold on. I'll get her back up here. Where'd it go? There we go.
There we go. Just had a bit of an internet issue, I guess. I don't know if it's our end or.
Somebody jumped on the internet here. That's all it was.
Yeah, and Charlotte's phone died. So.
Oh.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you heard what I was saying there. So I've like overly emotional, and then it was. But then as I look back now, I was never really allowed to have that voice. It was, I could say what I thought, but I was wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that right now.
Yeah, you can say what you want, but there's people that are gonna, you know, go against you.
Even now to this day, it's, I get told being a dad, oh, you're the parent, but I'm not the parent unless I'm parenting the way somebody else wants me to do it.
Yeah, because somebody's always got to have their finger in your face going, you're doing this wrong, but you got to do it this way.
Yep.
Sorry, my kid is a unique individual, and they need to be parented uniquely per situation.
Yep.
Like you can't, I don't even have one. You can't pull out a book and be like, oh, this is every child. No. It's not every situation. Like what we've all gone through, we've had to deal with it in our own way because we are unique to said situation.
Okay, and now Sabrina, I see that poster behind you, and I remember seeing the video clips and the pictures from a couple of months ago, which I'm going to guess was your book signing.
Yeah, it was my first book signing.
Where you had that up, the Unleash Your Inner You, and would you care to go tell us about that, please?
This is my other business venture that I'm slowly starting, more like on the spiritual path, because I've been on that road for the last 2 or 3 years. Basically, just spirituality is just waking up to your own life path, waking up to your own vision and what you want to do in your life. So that's what I plan to teach people when I graduate from mental health and addictions, is to get experience working in the field for a year or two to save up money and then eventually like combine spirituality and mental health together, because like when people go through that journey, they think like it's all just love and light and sunshine and rainbows 24/7, but you have to go through that dark night of the soul, that dark phase in your life, in order to experience that light and that sun. And that's what I went through. And like I know there are people that are going through that don't understand what they're up against or what they're facing. And like my plan is to just bring light to that and help people through those dark times. So like I want to do like more newsletters, more like coaching, one-on-one group sessions. I also consider myself to be like have like an extra sixth sense, so I'm very like in tune with the spiritual world. So like I do like tarot readings and all that fun stuff, but like it's not always sunshine and rainbows when it comes to that. There is a dark side, so like I do, that is important to teach people about that stuff. So like that's basically unleash your inner you, as unleashing the inside of you that you want to showcase to the world.
Okay.
That's like that's a project that I'm building up over time.
Again, fantastic. And again, like, thank you, because I didn't, again, the spirituality, and I mean, even going into the mental health, the spirituality is, again, I'm probably more oblivious to it. I don't want to say ignorant. I've heard about it, and I've got other friends who are into it as well, with the crystals and chakras, and
that's
again,
a whole other podcast show.
I'm oblivious to it, and we will absolutely make another podcast show about that for you.
Cool.
Yes. So, because yes, again, like I've said, I'm oblivious to it, and so I've always sort of looked at, you know, and maybe this is me being biased and ignorant, is the spirituality is the religious, and it's, you know, like, I don't want to say I'm anti-religious, but I am. I fall into the atheist category, or probably more the agnostic.
I don't think God believes in atheists.
I like my perspective on it is that religion is more like boxed in, and there's a set of rules that people have to follow or they get exiled. With spirituality, it's more like freedom within your own life, freedom within yourself, and like again, just waking up to the life that you're on and understanding your timeline and certain patterns and awareness. Because like without spirituality, I don't know where I'd be, because it completely woke me up from like all the bad habits and the shit that I was in at the time. And just everything since then has just gotten so much better, because like I started making the right decisions, because I woke up to my life and I was like, well, I could go down this path and keep doing the shit that I'm doing, and I don't know where I'd be. Or I could take like you complete U-turn and go the opposite direction. And now like I'm 4 months to graduating from this amazing program. And it's like, I did not see myself where I am like 2 years ago. I don't know where I'd be.
Right. That is fantastic. That is amazing. I am going to say thank you so much for joining us, Sabrina. This has been an absolutely fantastic conversation. We've had a blast having you here.
Good.
On the Boar's Nest and on our local establishment, as well as the Turnbuckle Studios platform.
We're simultaneous 3 different places right now.
Oh, really? That's so cool. That's exciting.
Yes, the only thing I don't think we did tonight was Twitch.
No, because I can only podcast, or 3 different places.
Oh,
and not on my Xbox, so
right.
Kind of rule that out.
You guys are so natural at it, you don't need to Twitch anymore.
No.
Right, not for the special stuff.
Is there gonna be like a playback linker to watch it back, or is it just recorded?
It will be on the Boar's Nest with Bubba Duke on YouTube.
Okay.
Local Studios on YouTube, and our local establishment on YouTube is where we're going to right now.
Yes.
Dan will have to send me the link to all those things.
Yes, he definitely will, because I don't have your text thing. So
yeah, I'll add you on Facebook, or I'll find you.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm on Dan's or OMD's there. Sorry.
Yeah,
you can find me there.
No, by all means. Call me Dan tonight. I'm good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, I'm just always this name.
Babadook.
Anybody? Yeah.
Like it.
But I would like to extend the olive branch for a episode. We will all obviously work out when that will be, and we'll just get more in depth with not only what I did to cope to not do drugs, obviously, aside from promising somebody on their deathbed.
Yeah.
But there was things I needed to do. Dan has had to do stuff, and I know from your stories that yous have had to cope as well.
Yes.
So we'll talk about, if it's okay with everybody.
Oh
our
yeah,
personal
100%.
coping. We don't need to give all the details of our story, and it's just not needed. But I went through a situation, and this is how I coped with it.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Yes.
We all good?
So,
All
How's
good.
Dan feeling?
so thank you so much, Sabrina. Thank you, Corey. It has been our absolute pleasure to have you here on the Boar's Nest. And
I'll definitely have to have you guys on one of our podcasts one of these times too.
Absolutely. We would love to.
Definitely.
Lovely.
So thank you so much.
Welcome.
And with that, although we didn't get many viewers tonight,
That's okay. It was fun regardless.
hopefully we'll get some positive feedback in the meantime. Ladies and gentlemen, for Bubba-Duke, for Sabrina and Corey, for Charlotte since her phone died on her, I am OMD. Thank you and good night.
Cheers.